so windy, the trees are actually talking to us. There's that one right there is swaying back and forth and just making a lot of noise. I think it's telling us that we made the right decision in coming here, and that they haven't seen people for a while, and they enjoy our company sitting down here on the forest floor below them. Good afternoon. It is Saturday, June the 15th, 2024. Me and my friend Andrew have just settled into a high camp on a ridge here in Washington State's Blue Mountains. We've already done quite a bit of hiking today before making our camp. We covered just shy of 12 miles of walking. Our tents are sitting just shy of 6,000 feet above sea level, and I'd say we covered a little bit over 3,000 feet of elevation gain to get to this spot right here. Don't be deceived though, for June it is quite chilly out at the moment. We did a lot of hiking through a whole cornucopia of weather events today, from heavy rain to rain showers to sun breaks to hail and snowstorms, and then heavy wind, and it's definitely biting. I'm really glad we have these layers and we didn't put away the winter clothing just yet. And that in itself explains why we are here in the Blue Mountains at this moment. Andrew had big plans to kind of lead us on a trip through the front ranges of the Rocky Mountains in Montana. And the weather event, you know, it's this bad here in the Blues. In the bigger ranges like the Rockies, I'm kind of glad we're not there right now. They were calling for feet of snow, freezing temperatures, a lot of wind. To be honest, I'm just kind of glad that we're experiencing this weather event here in a new range that I have never seen before, in the name of what I want Duck Sage Venture to be all about. Like just yesterday, I crossed the Snake River for the very first time in Washington State, and I've lived here my whole life. And the Oregon border is just right over there. We're not too far from it right now. And it's deceiving because this beautiful forest that I'm standing in right here is located in southeast Washington. There's no grand views of peaks of like great ranges here, but the forest is quite spectacular. It's really pretty. The meadows are vast, and there's a lot of signs of wildlife. So we're just gonna settle into camp. We're gonna get a fire going here in a few minutes and enjoy camp life in a place that just seems like it was made for camping in the woods. So here we go, a 3-day, 2-night hiking adventure through Washington's Blue Mountains. Enjoy. The name of this camp is called Sheephead. We've got our tents out front here, but we're actually going to make our fire back in those trees. It's more sheltered for sure. We do not know how it got its name of Sheephead, but it is one in a series of outfitter camps we've had to choose from. And we liked this camp because of how it's situated. It's got some pretty good views of the Grand Ronde country down in there, and you can't really see them, but the Willowas are the distant mountains on the horizon there. But these camps have springs, and that's the water source. And this spring is about 200 feet down in some slide alder down there. So it's not ideal, whereas other camps before had much easier water sources to access. The difference a fire makes in everything. It didn't take very long to get this one going, and immediately there's just so much warmth in this area because it was pretty frigid just a few minutes ago. The sun's, we're losing it pretty quickly. It's going down behind those trees over there. And I imagine it's going to get pretty cold tonight. I have to say this is one of the best fires I think I've had in a very long time, and I'm just enjoying, you know, just sitting here talking to Andrew next to this warmth, just a humongous pile of coals. And a question popped into my brain, because this is my first time here, but Andrew is a seasoned pro coming to the Blue Mountains. He is a NorthwestWanderer, so the name describes it all. And he was telling me earlier, how many times have you been to the Blue Mountains?
This would be my 6th time.
Okay, so I guess my question is, what makes this trip unique over all of the others?
This is the only time the weather wasn't stable most of the time. We seen every season on this trip on our way over, and the only other, it was usually sunny or hot most of the time. The only other bad weather happened was when my wife and I did paint camp Butte and camped up there, and it was June as well. and there was a thunderstorm at the end of the day when we were in the tent. That was it. But the weather's been rough to say the least on this trip.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yep. We got heavy rain, light rain, some warm sun, grauple snow, flurries. You got, yeah.
Gray, dark gray skies at times. And right now, it's really calm. And this is an evening view from pretty much our ridge above our camp, around 6,000 feet. And just down there is the Oregon-Washington border, and these are the southern slopes of the Blue Mountains. And way down there is the canyon carved by the Ronde, which is draining snowmelt off of the Wallowa Mountains, which are over there. It's just a beautiful end-of-day view from our perch. Some different high country. Good morning for day number 2. Andrew and I are both up and ready to go. Got our stoves purring away and cooking breakfast. It was beams of sunlight that woke me up this morning through the tent. And we're enjoying a very leisure morning. Starting to get packed up now though. And the sunshine did not stick around. Overcast clouds have rolled back in, and it is still pretty chilly. It's very refrigerator-like right now. It feels like autumn more than being on the fringes of the first day of summer. After a few hours of relaxing in the morning around camp, we got everything packed up and we're on our way. Today is a lot of backtracking through the meadows we hiked through yesterday, but in much different conditions. It is calm, it's still cold, but it's not stormy. So it should be a nice relaxing backtrack to the junction where we went east, I'm believing, from the valley trail we came up. And we're gonna head out to a place called Oregon Butte, which is one of the highest buttes in these parts. And from there, we'll make our plan of where we're gonna set up camp for night number 2. When you get into the forest, here in the ridge tops of the Blue Mountains, it is very pleasant. It's kind of similar. I've never been to the panhandle of Idaho, but Andrew was saying that this is what it reminds him of. And just a very healthy coniferous forest. Lots of bird sounds. This is another spring in a series of springs up here in the Blues. It's coming right out of the ground. It was piped, but a tree smashed the pipe and broke it, and now it's back to just naturally flowing down here. There's a camp in this area. It's right over there. This is a really good water supply. It's much more accessible than the one we were using yesterday. Another reality of the blues is there's just a lot of fire burn. You can see we were back in that forest where it's green and healthy. And not to say that burnt forest isn't healthy either, but there is a lot of it. And we're going to work our way up this way, and then we're going to end up back out over on these mesas in this ridge line here. We're going to hike all the way out to Oregon Butte, which is that one right there. And that one's over 6,000 feet. There's a fire lookout out there. And then everything here is to the south. And you can see all the canyons leading down into the Grand Ronde down in there. Andrew was sharing with me last night around the campfire that the reason why they call these mountains the Blue Mountains is because the pioneers noticed a constant sheen of forest fire smoke whenever they approached the Blues. Our next spring is right up here. You can see Andrew over there waiting on me. We're just going to make our way that way along the crest of the Blues. A high mountain traverse in eastern Washington. Here's the next spring, and somebody has piped it from its source. It is very strange, and I'm pondering how water like that, clean and clear, is coming out of the hillside along the crest of the mountains. It's up here at the top, and it's coming out like that. I wonder where the source of the water is and how it's getting there. There's a trough here for horses. I'm sure there's a lot of outfitter companies that operate. Looks like a haven for big game hunting up here. Well, this is a very beautiful spot, Andrew.
Oh yeah, lots of flowers.
We have arrived back at the trail junction. We came up from the right yesterday, and now we're going to go to the left. We're going to take the teepee trail. And I guess from this point on, it's about 3.3 miles out to Oregon Butte. But we're going to stop short and find a place to set up camp first, and then take a day hike out to the top of the butte, so we have a nice place to retreat to if and when the weather deteriorates. But it must meet the Northwest Wanderer stamp of approval for standards. pretty spectacular view from this ridge, looking off towards the west. You can see how deep these creeks and rivers have cut into the basalt here. And how the fire burn has created all these nice green meadows on the hillsides. We've already ran into one humongous herd of elk. So there's already a lot more wildlife over here. Wonder what else lays in store further up this ridgeline here. But we're kind of looking for a place to set up a camp. We've got to find a spring to do that. We've come across this camp as well. There's a nice fire ring. Nice seating arrangement. But there's no water.
Nope.
At this location, so we're gonna go up to the next one and see what's up there. But just a note, I really like this type of forest right here. It hasn't burned in a while, so this is, I think, what most of the forest should look like up here. It's an open forest. There's not a lot of underbrush to have to fight through. We walked a little bit up from that last camp in the timber, and the views and the situation has gotten immensely better. There's a flowing spring not too far from here. Live trees, it's not all burnt up. There's a nice open ridge over there. And look at where the fire pit is situated. The fire pit's right here. And we have a pretty incredible royal view of this drainage of the Blues. I keep thinking about how basalt rock, how when you erode it with water, it has the melting effect. And there's a lot of that going on right here in this countryside. Starting to really like it. And just like that, camp is set in our safe, sheltered grove of trees. All right, with camp all set up comfortably, we are heading up to Oregon Butte here to look at the views. It's already really beautiful along this ridge. And I'm really glad I came on this trip, just because I get to see just a completely new corner of my home state that I've never seen before. We have arrived at Oregon Butte. Sits around 6,300 feet above sea level. That is the old fire lookout, and I think as far as the Blues are concerned, this is a pretty high perch. Way down there is the Palouse and the farmlands of the Columbia Basin. Incredible drainages here. I like comparing wilderness areas and other places in the world that I've seen, and this just reminds me of Kauai, the Hawaiian Islands. The way this basalt is canyoned out, and it's very rugged drainages, lots of ridge lines. But still, it has a lot of lush green going on. It's very pleasant. We can see what looks like the storms coming in tonight. That hump over there is the Wallowa Mountains. And it just looks like there's a lot of precipitation on its way. That's looking down towards the Ronde River. It's down there somewhere. Now we're actually coming around and we're looking at the ridge line we were camping on last night. And it's over there. We were over there yesterday, looking back up at this fire lookout. I remember seeing it on top of this bluff yesterday, and all the storms blowing over the top of it. It definitely is not warm. It feels like it is going to snow, which would be kind of crazy if it did. And there's some rain coming right over there. Quite a bit of it. And we are going to go fetch water now at the closest spring and go settle into camp and start cooking dinner and get another warm fire going. Start to enjoy the evening. Here's the Oregon Butte spring. Cut this log into a horse trough. And it is being piped right there. This is how you get your water in these mountains. Here we go, second round and day 2 of snow flurries. It's actually been chilly all day. My fingertips have been pretty numb off and on, which is just insane to think about on the fringes of summer. There's actually some good lighting down there in the canyons. Look at all the storms stacked up against the Rockies over there. We just experienced an incredibly beautiful light show. It's not quite over yet. The last throes of it are happening. Last beams of light kissing the ridge lines down there. And we are surrounded by really dark clouds laden with moisture. It's very cold. It's pretty frigid out, actually. At least it feels like it is. But at least we have a fire that meets standards of approval. And we're going to stand by it for as long as it humanly takes before we crawl up and trade the warmth of this fire for the warmth of our mummy bags. Good night, everybody. Well, good morning. We have arrived at the third day of our trip in the Blues, and it isn't any warmer on this fine morning. The sun is out, but it is still quite chilly. And that probably explains why Andrew is cooking and eating in the comfort of his tent.
Yep.
Well, every trip has a beginning that we all look forward to, the middle portion, and then at last the end. And it's not the end yet, but we're walking closer to it, about 8 miles of it. We are retracing our steps all the way back to the trailhead. And we're going at a nice leisurely pace, and I really hope we get to shoot some more wildlife with the cameras on the way back here. This is our third time going past this trail junction on this trip, and we've gone pretty much every direction that this signpost says to go. Now we are going to head down the Panjab Canyon Creek drainage to the trailhead. Should be a bit drier on this descent because it was dripping wet on the way up. We have made it to Trail's End, and it's safe to say that there's not many people in the Blues right now, because those are only our rigs in the parking lot.